Hello, and welcome to Money and Mind, the audiobook that will transform the way you think about wealth, spending, and financial freedom. I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're listening during your morning commute, at the gym, while cooking dinner, or winding down before bed, you've made a powerful choice. You've decided to invest time in understanding not just how to manage money, but why we behave the way we do with it. Here's what makes this book different. We're not going to bombard you with complex financial jargon or rigid budgeting rules. Instead, we're going on a journey into the fascinating psychology behind your financial decisions, the hidden beliefs you inherited, the emotional triggers that drive your spending, and the mental patterns that either build wealth or sabotage it.
The Psychology of Money, a comprehensive chapter-by-chapter analysis. Introduction: The Nature of Financial Success. Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money fundamentally challenges our understanding of what it means to be good with money. The book's central thesis is elegantly simple yet profoundly important. Financial success is not primarily about what you know, but about how you behave. This insight runs counter to how most of us have been taught to think about money. We assume that financial success requires sophisticated knowledge of spreadsheets, investment strategies, tax codes, and economic theories. While technical knowledge certainly helps, Housel argues that soft skills like patience, humility, and self-control matter far more. The book is structured around 20 short chapters, each exploring a different psychological principle that governs our relationship with money. Housel draws from history, psychology, and his own experience as a financial journalist to illustrate how our behaviors, biases, and emotions shape our financial outcomes more than our intelligence or education ever could. What makes this book particularly powerful is that Housel doesn't just explain these principles abstractly. He grounds them in compelling stories and real-world examples that make the lessons memorable and actionable. Chapter 1. No One's Crazy. The opening chapter establishes one of the book's most important themes. Everyone's relationship with money is shaped by their unique life experiences, and what seems crazy to you might make perfect sense to someone else. Housel explains that people make financial decisions not based on spreadsheets or rational economic models, but on their own personal experiences with money accumulated over their lifetimes. Consider someone who grew up during the Great Depression versus someone who came of age during the boom years of the 1990s. The Depression-era person experienced catastrophic market crashes, mass unemployment, and genuine economic scarcity. They saw people lose everything. Naturally, this person might be extremely conservative with money, hoarding cash and avoiding stocks even when it seems irrational to others. Meanwhile, the person who grew up in the 1990s saw the stock market reliably go up year after year. They witnessed people getting rich from tech stocks and real estate. Their formative experience taught them that investing aggressively is the path to wealth. Neither person is crazy. They're both responding rationally to the world as they've experienced it. Housel uses lottery ticket buyers as another example. To someone financially comfortable, buying lottery tickets seems irrational. The expected value is terrible. You're almost guaranteed to lose money. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck with no realistic prospect of accumulating wealth through traditional means, a lottery ticket offers something valuable: hope and the possibility of transforming your life. The low probability doesn't matter as much when you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. This chapter teaches us to be less judgmental about others' financial decisions and more aware of how our own experiences have shaped our money beliefs. It also suggests that there's no universal right way to handle money. What works for you depends on your goals, experiences, and circumstances. Chapter 2. Luck and Risk. Housel opens this chapter with a striking story about Bill Gates. In 1968, Gates attended Lakeside School, one of the only high schools in the world with a computer. This extraordinary stroke of luck gave Gates access to technology and programming experience that almost no other teenager in the world could get. Kent Evans, Gates's closest friend and classmate, was by all accounts equally talented and driven, but Evans died in a mountaineering accident before graduating high school. One boy became the richest person in the world, the other, equally talented, lost his life to random misfortune. The point is that luck and risk are two sides of the same coin, and they play a much larger role in financial outcomes than we're comfortable admitting. When we succeed, we want to believe it was because of our skill, hard work, and intelligence. When we fail, we're quick to blame bad luck or circumstances beyond our control. The truth is that both success and failure are influenced heavily by factors we don't control. Housel argues that recognizing the role of luck and risk should make us more humble. When someone is successful, we should be careful about assuming they possess some special knowledge or skill that we can replicate. Some of their success may be luck. Similarly, when someone fails, we shouldn't be too quick to judge them as incompetent or foolish. They may have taken reasonable risks that simply didn't work out. This has practical implications for how we should think about financial decisions. We should focus less on specific individuals' outcomes and more on broad patterns of behavior that tend to work over time. We should also recognize that even good decisions can lead to bad outcomes, and bad decisions can occasionally lead to good outcomes. The quality of a decision should be judged by the information available and the reasoning used at the time, not solely by the outcome. Chapter 3. Never Enough. This chapter explores the dangerous tendency of some people to always want more, even when they already have far more than they need. Housel shares stories of tremendously wealthy people who risked everything chasing just a bit more wealth, ultimately losing it all. Bernie Madoff had legitimate businesses that earned him hundreds of millions of dollars. Rajat Gupta was worth over $100 million and sat on prestigious corporate boards. Both turned to crime not because they needed money, but because they wanted more. The problem, Housel explains, is that some people never feel like they have enough. The goalpost keeps moving. Once you have $1 million, you want 10 million. Once you have 10 million, you want 100 million. This insatiable desire leads people to risk what they have and need for what they don't have and don't need. It's a catastrophic mistake. Housel identifies several reasons why the goalpost keeps moving. Social comparison is one major factor. There will always be someone richer, which can make your own wealth feel inadequate. Another is that having money changes what you think you need. The person making $50,000 a year can't imagine needing more than $100,000. But once they're making $100,000, their lifestyle and expectations have expanded, and suddenly they feel like they need $200,000. The chapter's key lesson is about knowing when to stop. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. You need to decide what enough looks like for you and defend that definition against the inevitable social pressures and internal desires for more. This doesn't mean you can't want more or work towards greater wealth. It means you shouldn't risk what you have and need for pursuing what you don't have and don't need. Chapter 4. Confounding compounding. Warren Buffett is worth over $100 billion, making him one of the richest people in human history. But here's a striking fact. $99 billion of that wealth was accumulated after his 50th birthday, and $97 billion came after he turned 65. Buffett is certainly a skilled investor. His annual returns have averaged around 22% over his career. But his secret isn't just his skill, it's the time he's had to let that skill compound. Housel explains the incredible, almost magical power of compound growth and why we struggle to grasp it intuitively. Our minds aren't wired to understand exponential growth. We think linearly, but compound growth is exponential. It starts slow and then explodes upward in ways that seem impossible. Consider that if Buffett had started investing at age 30 instead of age 10 and retired at 60, he'd have been worth only about $12 million instead of $100+ billion, even with the exact same investment returns. The difference is purely time and compounding. Or consider that Jim Simons, who managed Renaissance Technologies, actually had better annual returns than Buffett, 66% per year versus Buffett's 22%. But Simons didn't start his fund until he was 50, while Buffett started investing as a child. Despite Simons' dramatically higher returns, Buffett is significantly richer because he had decades more time for his wealth to compound. The lesson is that good investing isn't necessarily about earning the highest returns. It's about earning pretty good returns that you can stick with and repeat for the longest period of time. Consistency and longevity beat intensity. This is why avoiding catastrophic mistakes that force you to start over is so crucial. It's about staying in the game more than hitting home runs. Chapter 6: Getting Wealthy versus Staying Wealthy. Getting money and keeping money are two different skills, and the strategies that work for one often don't work for the other. This chapter explores why so many people who